So I'm very pleased to be here on My Magical Thing with Crow Thorning, witch, rune geek, and magical teacher. Crow, it's lovely to have you here.
It's an honour to be invited. Thank you very much, Julian. That's really kind of you.
My friend, you're very welcome. So, Crow,
Yeah.
please may we see your magical thing?
Yes, you can. It's kind of a weird, it's a magical thing, but it's also two things at once. So this, can you see that? This is my magical thing.
Yeah, got
And
it.
it's a cross stitch embroidery of a path through the woods that goes from late spring to winter in the background. And it's all the winter is all sparkly and silver. Um, and what this is a spell made for me by my mentor and teacher, Margaret Inglis. So really, this is two things. I met Margaret when I was 20 and it changed my life completely. She was 67 at the time, and there was this massive age gap between us, but we just completely clicked. And she taught me so much, not just about magic and witchcraft, but about life and about how to be a decent person and all of that. I've been a bit kind of adrift until then. And they initiated me into Wicca. But it was much bigger than just that. It was a whole education on, history and mythology and, politics. And she changed everything. I'm a working class kid from Lancashire, and I was the first person in my family to go to university. And Margaret was a professor of pathology, and it was just a whole new world. She actually opened. It did feel like she opened the world up to me, and we spent so much time together. Doing magic, talking about the natural world. Yeah, she just kind of like, I don't know, like when you put Vimto in water and it changes everything and everything becomes red and more exciting and tastier. Well, that's Margaret was my Vimto. That's what she did for me. And we were really, really close. And we were close for about 9 years until I was 29. And then she found out she had cancer of the liver.
Mhm.
So even though 9 years, when you're now 55, is not a very long time, when you're 20 to 29, it's like a third of your life. And at the time she met me, it was so transformative to meet somebody like this. And when she was 29, when I was 29, she got diagnosed as having liver cancer. And she was a pathologist working for a company who was trying to make a biological cure for cancer. So she knew exactly what was going to happen as soon as she got that diagnosis. The interesting thing is she'd been away to a pagan camping weekend, and somebody done her tarot and she got the death card and she was going to have big change, and she was really excited about what the big change was. And then we found out what the big change was going to be, and she was absolutely like, if I'm even as slightly as good as that when I find out I'm going to die, then I will be happy. She said to me, I don't know what happens next. If it's something, then that's great, and it'll be more exciting and it'll be something different. And if it's nothing, what am I worried about? And I remember thinking, that's so like, I don't know, accepting. And I'm not an accepting person. I fight everything. So that was a real eye opener for me. But it was my birthday, and she died very shortly afterwards. And through the post, I got this parcel. And I didn't know until later that Margaret had gone and spoken to a lot of our friends and said, can you keep an eye on Crow? Can you make sure she's okay for me when I'm not here anymore? But what she'd done is she'd made this for me, and she'd embroidered all of it in a circle. And it's a spell from Margaret for the rest of my life. So it's late spring at the beginning, which is when she met me. And as you progress through down that little path, you go into a beautiful, oh, I'm going to cry, sparkling, snow filled winter. And then this gap at the end where who knows what happens next and who I'll meet and all of that kind of thing. And so when things have got really tough, it's been such, I don't know, like a touchstone to come back to and remember that person who loved me And oh, crikey, I didn't realize I was going to get emotional. And the person who taught me so much, and the fact that while she was dying, she got into a magic circle and by candlelight managed to cross stitch this for me. So it's a tiny thing, it's a tiny sliver of fabric, but it has so much meaning for me and so much magic in it. And that's why when I started teaching magic and I started, I make statues and I sell them on Etsy and all that kind of thing. I didn't know what to call my business because everything that people suggested just sounded really wanky and possibly slightly Lord of the Rings. And I was a bit like, no, I'm not any of them things. And then I just thought, I'm going to name it after Margaret. And so I named my thing the Margaret English School of Witchcraft and Magic because, it's that thing about while we're still saying her name, she's still here with us. Her name's on mugs that my students have got and things like that. And, she is their magical ancestor. I've passed on my picture of her to them. And, we went through a lot of things together. Like we were in the news of the world together. They infiltrated our coven and did a huge, Satan's grandma's coven is a cauldron of sin and all of that. And she was just incredibly important in the formation of like me and who I am. And, when she was dying, she was like out of it completely. She was one of the cleverest people I've ever met. And when she was dying, she was lying on the sofa, really, really not well. And somebody was asking a question about something and she opened her eyes and she said, top corner, third book in, about the middle chapter, yeah, you're right, right? And we went to the bookshelf and we got the book out and we looked and she'd remembered that even though her body was completely giving up. So, that's my magical thing. It's like my magical life going forward. And it's nice to look at it and go, I've got that snowy winter to look forward to. And then that mysterious egg-shaped void at the end where who knows where I'll be. But I'm hoping I'll get to see Mags again, really, to be honest. So that's kind of it, really.
Crow, that's awesome. I think Mags and I actually got to meet on one occasion. I think back in the day, because I got involved in the whole shebang a little while ago.
Yeah. I love that.
And it's so great to hear you speak of her and to hear that influence that she had on you as a young person. Massively. In terms of magic, but also just in terms of supporting a young person to come into the world and find themselves in the world.
Yeah. She had knowledge about, being at university, not living, my family all live in this tiny place in Lancashire and they never move, right? And here's me, I'm in Aberdeen. I don't even know where it is on the map when I first go there, and she just opened everything up to me. She took me to places, I went to the British Museum for the first time with her, so she's kind of woven all the way through my life. When she died, I hope this isn't going on too long, but when we always said, whoever goes first, because we were being generous, like it might be me, we would leave the other one a sign. And after she died, I was really kind of grumpy about it. And I realized it was because I didn't feel like I'd got my sign. And then I was unpacking to move. And I found a little card that she'd made for me when I had like a chest infection. And on the front was and she was really ill. One single line, sparkly thread, rainbow, right, with a little ankh hanging off it, embroidered. And I opened it up and it said, why a rainbow? I know, when I got the card, I hadn't read this bit. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But it said, why a rainbow? Well, we all know you like sparkly things, Crow, and we all know you like colour. But in particular, this. And then there was a little Genesis. I can't remember what the numbers were now, but it was like chapter and verse. And when I went and looked at it, it's the bit where God shows Noah the rainbow. And the line is, this shall be a covenant between us for days to come. The amount of times where I've seen a rainbow exactly when I needed it. And I remember saying to my daughter, oh, she's so clever, Margaret, because you're going to see him all the time, But she hasn't thought about this, has she? What about when it's today? What about when it's July and it's gloriously sunny outside and there's no chance of a rainbow? And my daughter just pointed at the television that was on silent, and there was a rainbow on the TV. And I was just like, that is so sneaky. So she's still here for me, really. You know, I tell stories about her. I say to my students the thing that she said, like when she told me that trying to describe the mysteries to another human being is like trying to describe what mayonnaise tastes like. And you can't do it. You can't tell another person what mayonnaise tastes like, and you can't explain something that's the mystery that's happened to you, you know, in a convincing and kind of deep way to somebody else. So I repeat all those things she said to me. I, you know, dig out all those things that she told me, and so I feel like she's still here, really. One person said to me recently, oh, from Mackleworth, "You're my Margaret," and I just thought, well, I can give up now because that's as good as it gets. That's my pinnacle. So yeah, so that's my magical thing, but it's sort of not a thing, it's sort of a person.
Crow, that is really, really appreciated, my friend. Thank you very, very much for taking the time to share the story of Margot and the lineage and the magical thing. That's really fabulous. Thank you so much. Blessed be.
Thank you. Bye bye. Blessed be.
Bye bye.